I'm a socialist. And I'm not going to be ashamed to say it. I'm up here saying I'm a socialist. And one of my biggest inspirations is President Hugo Chavez of Venezuela. Yay, President Hugo. I will be running for governor of California in 2000 and next year, 14. Thank you so much, Bob. It's nice to meet you all and to be here. I feel funny because I might be the only one in this room that's not a Green. And so, but I'm not a Democrat either, so you have to give me credit for that. I used to be. I left the party very publicly as late as 2007. And I left because in 2005, you all know I camped out in front of George Bush's ranch in Crawford, Texas. And I feel like the organizations that are loyal to the Democratic Party flocked there. I thought they were peace organizations, but they weren't. They were Democratic fronts. They used the anti-war movement and the energy of us all to regain Congress in 2006, right? Nancy Pelosi. Impeachment off the table, but war funding on the table. Pelosi became Speaker of the House. One of the first things they did was betray the anti-war movement and vote to fund George Bush's wars, and voted to not hold him accountable. Not voted. I don't think they voted. I think it was a decision from the leadership. So I left the party, and I was an independent for a long, long time. And I want to talk to Claire, too, because I will be running for governor of California in 2000 and next year, 14. So
when you ran against Nancy Pelosi, weren't you begged by the editor of the Nation magazine not to run?
Hold on a second. So then in 2008, I ran against Nancy Pelosi, and yes, the Nation was very opposed to my candidacy.
Why?
Well,
they didn't like a peace candidate in the race.
Or challenging a Democrat. Or challenging a Democrat, right? So I did very well in that campaign. I got almost 50,000 votes and came in second and raised about $750,000, which is peanuts, really. But for a third-party congressional candidate, that's a lot. Independent congressional candidate, we did very, very well. And so the only reason I'm not a Green is because I live in California and I have the opportunity to belong to the Peace and Freedom Party because I'm a socialist. And I'm not going to be ashamed to say it. I'm up here saying I'm a socialist. And so,
most of us are.
So even though there's nothing about the Green Party that I disagree with, I agree with everything in the party. My party takes our platform farther into democratization of the workplace, everything. So, and I ran for vice president last year, 2012, with the Peace and Freedom Party. We were only on the ballot in 3 states, but I think we came in 9th or something like that, which was too bad. I would wonder what would have happened if we actually campaigned. But yeah, I would have voted for Jill if I wasn't on the ballot. And I thought, you know what? How often does someone get a chance to vote for herself for vice president of the United States? Really? So I did vote for myself. So, but how do we go from the dominant paradigm we have now to one that makes more sense for the people? There were, I think, I counted about 25 or 26 people running for president of the United States in 2012. We got 1.6% of the vote nationally. Obama and Romney, or that guy and that other guy, got 98.4% of the vote, of the people who bothered to vote. So how can we overcome that? I think you had a really good point from Wisconsin that we run for local, state, and local offices. And we have a better chance of making a difference. Maybe we might not win, but we have a better chance, I think, of getting our voices heard. Hi, my good friends. And so another way, I think, is reaching out to people and saying, are you happy with the status quo? Are you happy with struggle? Are you happy with the environment being destroyed? Are you happy with the economy being destroyed? Are you happy with having to work a low-wage job with no benefits? Are you happy with not having health care? Education being too expensive? Or education being crappy? That's a political word, by the way, crappy, and it should be used more often. And so this is what we have to say. If you're not happy, why do you keep voting for those assholes? That's another political word, right? And don't even talk to them about politics. You know, politics is something that we concentrate so much on. You know, like every 2 years we go crazy with politics. But, you know, Obama and FDR had at least said one thing right, though they didn't mean it. They said, you got to make me do it. They didn't mean it. They don't care what the people are doing. But if millions of us are in the streets, they have to pay attention to us. Look what happened just here in Wisconsin. That whole Scott Walker thing. That's your governor, right? When he was getting ready to throw the unions under the bus, right? Definitely, right? And I think there were 14 Democrats in your Senate, if I'm remembering these numbers right. And so they were going to go along with Scott Walker until they saw the people flooding the Capitol, and they changed their votes. I'm not sure if all of them were, but they went with the people because the people flooded the Capitol. And why are we only flooding capitals when there's a Republican as a governor? My governor is a Democrat, and he's crappy. He's an asshole. And those are two words I'm going to introduce into the politics of third party and independence. Crappy and asshole. We don't say them enough. And so he is getting ready. He is trying to destroy the BART Workers Union and the Transportation Workers Union and the Teachers Union, and the only unions he likes are the prison guard unions and the police unions. But he's trying to destroy every other union. Why aren't we flooding Sacramento? You people from California, we should be flooding Sacramento too, even though he's allegedly a Democrat. But it doesn't make a difference.
Jobs with Justice and the Labor Council and the environmental groups won't oppose a Democrat.
Exactly. We had a protest in Richmond, California. It was called by 350.org and the Richmond Progressive Alliance. And guess what? They prohibited me from speaking. They wouldn't even give me 3 minutes to speak.
350?
My son was killed for oil. I just got finished riding my bike across the frickin' United States to say that these, our dependence on fossil fuels is destroying our country. You know, I'm running for governor of the state, but they wouldn't give me 3 minutes. I said, why? Are you afraid that I'm going to say something bad about the Democrats? And it's not saying something bad, it's just pointing out facts. And if you take that as bad, then you got to think about where your loyalties and allegiance lie, right?
Right.
Not about what I'm saying, but where your loyalties are. So I think that politics has to be more of us asking those questions. And not about saying, I'm going to charge in, vote for me, and I'm going to save you. It's about, I want you to support yourself. I want you to support your community. I want you to support the environment. I want you to support the world by voting for me.
Yeah.
Right? And that we will work synergistically to create this world. And you know what? If you create a movement, then you don't need to win. But you can create a movement around a campaign where people feel empowered to move forward. And one of my biggest inspirations is President Hugo Chavez of Venezuela. Yay, President Hugo. He convinced the people that, he didn't have to convince them that their lives were crappy. They already knew that. He convinced them that they could take power into their own hands and work with him to improve their own lives, and that's what happened. The 14 years he was president dramatically improved the lives of Venezuelans. And so that's my inspiration, is getting everybody involved, not just saying, oh, we're just going to vote for, Mr. Evil or Mr. Less Evil. And I always tell people, when you vote for Mr. Less Evil, do you realize there's you're a counterpart on the other side voting for who you think is greater evil, because he thinks who you're voting for? It's all convoluted. So anyway, getting people involved in making the changes in a very community grassroots level, going to every community, listening to what their issues are, and creating solutions synergistically. Because governments don't have to be oppressive. Governments don't have to work against us and for the 1%. We can work together to make true and relevant and positive change. And I think that's the way we go forward. In California, we have this terrible, terrible, terrible law that just passed in 2010, I believe, called Top 2 Primary. And it's like an open primary, and the top 2 vote getters advance to the general. So guess what?
No more third parties.
Yeah, no more third parties in California, because it's the people with the most money.
It could be 2 people from the same party.
It was, and last year it was frequently 2 people from the same party vying for the seat. And so I think that might work in favor of us, those third parties. It's not going to be overturned in the courts. We need to get another initiative to overturn Prop 14. But it's not designed for open democracy. It's designed to shut down democracy and only give us a choice between one of the 2 war parties or one of the 2 parties of capital. And that's not choice. Democracy is choice and involvement, not the same old, same old. So the Sacramento Bee actually wrote a very nice article about me challenging Brown, but they say, of course, she doesn't have a chance because he's already raised $10 million. Well, yeah, I know, he already has raised $10 freaking million. So to me, that's 10 million reasons not to vote for him. And going out and just telling people, do you want the status quo, or do you really want change? And I think that's what all third party and independents have to really strive to make ourselves different from the status quo. Different, but not just different, but attractive and not frightening to people. Frightening to the status quo, yeah, but not to the people that we want to support us and be involved with us.